Howdy and welcome to another episode of KUAM News Extra. I am Andy Wheeler, and today we're going to be talking to Leslie from WestCare Pacific Islands. And Leslie, you are the program coordinator. So when we've been going back and forth getting ready for this interview, you sent me some talking points, and I didn't realize how broad WestCare Pacific Islands is. It's not like, oh, we handle one little segment of the population. I mean, you guys kind of have your hands in a lot. So I wanted to talk first up about the history of WestCare and how far-reaching it actually is.
Sure. Well, WestCare is a family of nonprofit organizations. Actually, our foundation office is in Las Vegas, Nevada. So WestCare on its own has been around in the US since 1973. And here we serve, like WestCare itself serves communities in 19 states, 3 territories, which includes Guam, obviously. And here on island, we are called WestCare Pacific Islands. This is our little territory. This is our district under the WestCare umbrella. And again, we are a nonprofit organization, and we do serve different populations in their community. Veterans, couples, youth, families, to promote healthy relationships, prevent and assist against homelessness. And we provide prevention type education for different things, for middle school youth to prevent risky behaviors, to promote healthy relationships between couples in hopes to prevent family violence, domestic violence, and just our overall mission of uplifting the human spirit for a healthy community.
And on one hand, you could be helping a 6th grader with some developmental issues as far as, you know, being socially active and whatnot. And on the other hand, you could be dealing with a 65-year-old veteran. So to do that, it's a really broad range, and that must mean that you've got a pretty big team of individuals. So how many people are with the WestCare Pacific Islands?
Oh, man.
Do you even know?
We're growing. We are definitely growing. I was here with my program for 2 months, but I was here 2 years ago, and then I would like to say we had a solid 20. I could be wrong, but with the new grants that we're receiving and those new programs that will be implemented, we're growing. We are taking, we're going to be, our presence on the island would be hopefully definitely a positive one, and it would be more visible out there. Our team's growing a lot.
Well, it is absolutely a positive force in the community. And those of you that are working for WestCare, you know that everyone there is passionate about it, because this is not a line of work that you get in just to pass the time, just to, oh, I need a 9 to 5. This is something you genuinely have to be passionate about.
Definitely. Our backgrounds are different, ranging from human services and advocacy, but it's our team is amazing. We believe in different services for underserved populations. You have to have that type of spirit and that type of zest to just keep wanting to help, keep wanting to prevent, because we know the social struggles of the different populations on our island and also global, so you really, and we have a solid team of trained and experienced individuals who come together for just one common purpose, which is for a better Guam.
Yeah, a better Guam, and this is better. It benefits the entire community, because what you're doing, the programs, like I said, it's such a broad program that you're helping everyone out. You're empowering people, not just helping somebody, a veteran or someone that's homeless, maybe get back on their feet a little bit, point them in the right direction. You're starting with younger kids that are in that really malleable developmental phase. So you know that, hey, let's help these kids out early. Let's build that confidence. Let's, learn the boundaries, limits. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit later. So it's just, it runs a gamut. So you've got a good team, and you're all diverse, because you're a good snapshot of the community, because, I mean, you kind of have to be of the community to help the community.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you've got a lot going on over there at WestCare Pacific Islands. When we get back from the break, we are going to get into several of the different programs that you have. So KUAM News Extra, we'll be back in just a bit. All right, welcome back to KUAM News Extra. Here talking to Leslie, the program coordinator from WestCare Pacific Islands. Some of the programs that we've been talking about, many of them in the news constantly. The homelessness is an issue that during the pandemic was magnified. There's been talks of the issue at Paseo and the shelter. I know you've got a team dedicated to that, but you're kind of focused on the PREP, which is Personal Responsibility Education Program. And how much of that in the title is what you guys do?
All of it. Well, what it doesn't include in our title is our full title is Project ISATA, which is our rainbow. PREP, Personal Responsibility Education Program Pathways, is a preparation for adulthood and teen health. And our primary focus population is middle school students.
And the middle school students, it's such a very formative age for kids, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, not going into high school. You're not an adult. You're not a baby anymore. And
we're in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the middle child. And this is where you start to see a little bit more peer pressure, more of the social anxiety. So what are some of the things that PREP and Pathways focus on for these middle school kids?
Well, PREP, we know that, and our mission is prevention education is key, right? We can't stress it enough. Our goal is to provide education to increase self-empowerment, reduce risk factors to prevent teen pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. It happens at a young age. And it's good to have these kids informed, but we provide a curriculum that for 6th, 7th, or 8th graders, again, we don't bunch them up together, to teach refusal skills, personal limits and boundaries, help them foster and learn how to foster healthy relationships within their networks, within their friends, within their families, and just their general community. Our youth educators are very well trained on the appropriate delivery services for this because, like you said, it's a very sensitive time. Back in our day, I remember being in middle school, and I can't even imagine what my parents went through of not even having a guidebook or of how to deal with these things. And as the youth, being the youth, or as the youth themselves are going through this transition, like you said, they're no longer babies. They're in the middle. I guess that's why you call them middle schoolers. And then you're about to go into high school, but within 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you have those behavioral changes, you have those social changes around you. How do you identify what your personal boundaries are while still instilling your own personal family values? How do you find the empowerment and the encouragement to say no when something feels uncomfortable? So PREP provides those lessons, and positive youth development, it's not just boring lessons. We actually have these kids like deal with different activities like in team settings, group settings, individual like activities to just build the self-esteem, to help them decide to make appropriate decisions and improve refusal and communication skills, which, aid students in these age groups to identify their personal boundaries and just be like, this doesn't feel right. I can say no. I can draw the line here.
Yeah, a lot of people, you see that these problems, not setting those personal boundaries, those limits, when you are that middle school age, if you don't do that, later on as an adult, you'll notice some certain issues arise at work or in their personal lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it all starts there. I know it is crucial from the beginning, from birth to early childhood, but for social and behavioral, when dealing with other people and the different issues that are going to start to come up, and you're in that mindset of just learning the different things that adults will possibly deal with, this is like the perfect time to just gain those skills.
And kids, they don't like the boring classroom, let's be honest. They don't like having someone just get up there and lecture. So you said a lot of interactive ways to teach them. How are some of the ways that you go about doing that?
There's a slew of different activities that the youth educators use, but as something as simple as when an individual activity of an eco map, identifying, drawing out, here's you in the center, and what does your life look like? How does your family dynamics look like? Drawing it out and just having some little art therapy about it, but understanding what surrounds you as a person. And then depending on your group and class and size, you'll do a lot of team building stuff, a lot of like there's this one that's minefield. It's funny where these kids are blindfolded safely, you know, and their hands are up, and you have another person who's partnered with you to practice communication skills, like step to the left, step to the right to get
Oh,
them
fun.
safely onto the other side. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different activities, and then you'll see within these group activities, even the shy kids come out and become the leaders within the group, or the ones who are normally loud and very outgoing tend to step back and they realize, hey, let's give these kids, these other people a chance. And it's a good thing to watch and see and to go
Yeah.
through.
And you mentioned that cool that the shy kids kind of exert themselves a little bit as that leader, because a lot of times kids just need that purpose, that positive activity to get them to come out of their shell, to realize that, hey, I'm a valuable individual. I should have the confidence to handle this situation. And I think that translates well to personal lives with limits and boundaries.
It does. And when, as an adult, and I'm watching this happening, it tends to remind even me, like as a parent, I was like, you have to trust the kids a little bit.
Yeah.
Who they surround themselves by, there's going to be those that you don't come across that would be a really good leader, a really well-spoken individual. And you just have to trust that these kids are at that level. A lot of them, like we tend to neglect the fact that these kids know more than we think that they do. And just giving them the opportunity to just be and use the skills that they learn, just watching them grow and just show that side of them, it's pretty amazing.
But they're always going to be your baby,
Oh yeah.
no matter how old they get.
I have a seventh grader. I have a seventh grader, and I'm just like, oh man, there's no rule book to this.
And you want the kids to be able to make those decisions, to have that confidence when you're not around, because you're not there at school, you're not there with their friends. You want to
Mhm.
have that confidence that you've given your child, that confidence that they can make those right decisions when you're not around.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that brings me to our next point, which is about families, because teaching the kids all you want, but if they go to a toxic or less than ideal family situation, sometimes it can backtrack and we can take a couple steps back. So are there programs in place to kind of educate and help the entire family?
Yes, we not only teach the kids this because, it's kind of pointless and we're not there to monitor and give them tips in their ear when they're out in the public or with their families. So we do have different activities that activities. We have different events that they've hosted in the past that involve and initiate the parents and the families to be like, hey, here's a communication practice. This is what your kids learn. Now, let's see how this can be reciprocated and reinforced at home. Um, we had one year, we had a family cook and dine where it was in partnership with another program of ours, but it was small families, and they received a lesson. And then while baking cookies and learning how to follow instructions and working as a team to make these batch of cookies, they were practicing all the skills that the kids were taught. So it's nice to see. It is we can do as much as we can to teach of how to have a healthy relationship with your environment, with the people that surround you. But to reinforce it with the core family is actually really beneficial.
Right. Again, because your goal uh, is a healthier community, and that deals with everyone. That is the families. That's Manumku. That's the children, the middle schoolers, veterans, everyone. If you've got some people that get left behind, then hey, we've got a need as a community to help bring up everyone. So it really does benefit the entire community to have these families close knit, to have everyone kind of working towards the same goal, whether it's kids or parents or whoever.
Yes, definitely.
And lately, interesting times has been when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how your programs dealt with the pandemic and how you're dealing now with social distancing. So we'll be back. And again, welcome back to KUAM News Extra here. Leslie talking about WestCare Pacific Islands, the huge organization, which I didn't know you had that many different programs. And there are specialists that deal with many different things. But one thing that we've all had to deal with the past few months is the pandemic. And before we went on, we were talking about how an organization whose whole mission is to work closely with the community. How do you do that when we're not allowed to be close to the community?
We've had to be very innovative.
A lot of Zoom meetings.
It's a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, but it has been difficult. They've still been out in the community, especially for our bigger programs, such as those that work with the veterans, our SSVF program. They were still providing services virtually through health. They're providing guidance of where veterans can go to if they're homeless, and providing different case management services during this time. Unfortunately, it was limited to where people can't come in, but our services were still available, how we can best provide them. We're starting up again. It's PCOR. We went from PCOR 2 to PCOR 3, so there's a little bit more wiggle room. But for our couples programs, for example, they provided virtual classes, and then we're slowly starting to do like small group settings. And for prep, we were able to unfortunately, we were able to provide our summer. It was formerly called our summer camp, but we were able to provide our summer series for our lessons for kids in partnership with the Dededo Senior Center in the mayor's office. We were able to we had all the kids, the 17 kids that we had, we kept it really small, all social distancing protocols in place. WestCare provided each of the students their own personal sanitization kits. We had extra masks on hand. So each child had their own spray, the wipes for surfaces, and we actually incorporated into our lessons and the activities like different times for sanitization, just to gear them up for school.
Right. Well, and that it also teaches them personal responsibility, but also that your decisions, your actions, they do affect others around you. So I think that's kind of a lesson rolled in right there.
Yes, exactly. And I was surprised because, it's a bunch of younger children, but they were very receptive to the protocols and the guidance that we had to put in place for them to be part of the summer series. And it was very successful. And they left on the last day telling our team, like, hey, we're ready for school. We have our masks. We have our personal sanitization kits. We can wipe down an area, no problem. And I was like, well, it is the new normal. And it's good to see the resiliency in these children where they're just like, we're ready. We're just ready to go to school. We're ready to see our friends, but still accepting what's in place right now for everybody.
Yeah, kids are fantastic, and I'm sure you've seen it where, the home life is not ideal. It's a rough situation. Parents are constantly working and whatnot. But the kids, when you give them that purpose, when you give them those little missions that they don't think they're being taught a life lesson, but it actually does translate really well into other things.
Oh yes, you give them their own responsibility, put it on them, and then they take ownership of it. They're proud of themselves at the end, to the point where the team didn't have to remind them it's sanitization time. They're always going up to making sure that their hands are sanitized, their face masks are up, and just taking care of their area, just to make sure that they take care of the next person who's across from them or sitting next to them.
Take care of your neighbor, and then when they go home, they're probably going to tell their parents, this is how you sanitize things. You should wear your mask. You should do this.
This is the proper way. Right. 20-second hand washing.
So you adapted with the team that you have. You're so creative as far as finding new ways to make this interesting for kids, because their attention spans can be a little bit short. And you know, one of the main things is just getting kids into the program, getting the families involved, getting couples involved, veterans, homeless, whoever it is. Getting them into the programs is, of course, the first step. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can get involved, how people can take advantage of the services, or how you can help out. So we'll be right back. All right, we are in the home stretch here at KUAM News Extra. Leslie, pretty informative talk here. And now what we wanted to talk about WestCare is how do people take advantage of the million resources that you have in the different programs?
Well, for all of our programs, our main number is 4720218, and we have a good presence in different social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook, where you can just keep abreast of all of our different events and how to reach the individual programs. In terms of for the youth program for PrEP, just if your child is in the GDOE school system, just keep an eye out for our flyers, keep an eye out for our announcements. We will be working with GDOE and the different middle schools to see what their plans are and how we can be present in the schools.
And you don't have to have an existing problem that you need help with. A lot of it is preventative.
Yes.
You want to get
Definitely.
those kids, you want to teach them those lessons so when they are an adult, they can get out into the world and they know already that, you know, they have to set their boundaries, set their limits, and empower themselves with the confidence to succeed.
Yes, yes, there's no doubt about that. But we do, not only do we have it in the school systems, like I mentioned, we have different events throughout the year, and let's see how our island progresses with the limitations and stuff, but we will do what we can to adapt and make it safe for everybody. We do have, for PrEP, we have our summer series that usually happens 3 times in one summer, so just keep an eye out for that.
All right, fantastic. Leslie, I cannot thank you enough for the interview and for everything that you and your team do on a daily basis for WestCare Pacific Islands, helping our community, and we appreciate it so much.